I'm Sue Merrill. Welcome to the Telephone Museum in Fairmont, West Virginia. And over to my right is a phone booth that came out of a hotel in Harrisville, West Virginia. They used it in the late 1800s and the early 1900s. It is all handmade, and used to have a shelf on the outside where the gentlemen, when they come in to use the phone, would wash their hands and go in to use the phone. And next we have Miss Emma Nutt. This is how the operators would dress to go to work. Now this, the headset was donated by another volunteer here, Helen Nichols. That was her headset when she first started to work. This switchboard came out of the Hotel Morgan, was used in 1907. This is when you had when you had rings, longs to shorts, and if it was a long, you went around one time. For a short, it was a half a time. But if that's how they knew by the number, they knew whether you were a long or short or what your ring code was. This is Josie Lehman. She was the first when she worked here on Monroe Street as an operator. This is a switchboard out of Morgantown that was put in 1939 when we got direct distance calling, or we got direct calling. This is how we would go ahead and take a call. You would have a light that comes on and you would answer it with your back cord and say, "Operator, may I help you? What number are you calling?" Would that be a station-to-station call? Would it be a person-to-person collect? And what number are you calling from? And you would go ahead and put this up here and you would dial the number. Pull back your key, and as soon as they answer, you would stamp this, put this in, and you were ready for your next call.
Hi, I'm Russ Ratchford at the Telephone Museum in Fairmont, and this is our stepper display, which is telephone switching equipment, electromechanical. And what it did, it was an analog system. When you picked it up, it found your number, gave your dial tone. As you dialed, it stepped with your step. It knew what number you want to call, cut you to the next switch, and as you dialed, it followed the pulses and called through the other phone, and I have continuity between the two phones now. This is the minimum configuration, which is one call, and it was a time when it was analog, was actually your voice they heard and on the other end. This is one of our telephone displays. What we have here, we have an explosion-proof phone like you would have in the mines. That way you didn't get a spark when you answered the phone. You had several different dial phones, which you had the panel phone with the cord that pulled out. You had the different ringers. That's a loud ringer like you would probably have in a garage or outside. Had the bell chimes for people that wanted a lighter touch. The pay phones, the emergency type phones would have an armored cord on them. You also had some regular external bells. The light flashing would be for someone that was hearing impaired. This is the same bell except a later version. So on it, just a different technology. So on the top up here we would have it's the ringer, because you used to have to listen for the different rings, and that would isolate about half the rings, so you only had to listen to 4 instead of 8. So here we have our display of telephones, and we have, starting with the old type phones, the liquid telephone, which you actually spoke into and then listened to and use the phone. You also had a different type. That was from the 1876 era. About the same era that You also spoke and listened the same one. And then the progression, the phone was no dials. You had the crank phones, which you would have a local battery, and the people would have to listen for their own ring. You would have like a line number, and your number would be like a 26R111, which meant you were on line 26. You got a short and a long ring. And then we progressed through the different types of rotary phones to the touch tone phones. Your first bike phones that you had, which was the precursor to the cell phones. And now in the digital era, you have just the cell phones, and most of these are on their way out from that. Here we have a fiberglass pole that was used in a field trial in Terrata in 1956. They used them there. What they wanted was a lightweight pole that two guys could carry back in place by themselves. A 30-foot pole of this type would weigh 150 pounds as compared to 600 to 700 pounds for a wood pole. This one we it had been repurposed to the Easton Mill Road in Morgantown and was used as a road crossing pole, and it was full of bird nests and honeybees. We did send it to a beekeeper out of Morgantown. He was able to recoup the bee nest, which is still a thriving hive now, so we're proud of that part. And but it's one of the few remaining poles of the era. Actually, the trial did not work out because of the harsh weather and the insects and stuff on that pole actually deteriorated it.
This is the shovels that the men used to use to take, and this one they would use to dig out the hole, and this one they would scoop the dirt out with. But it took quite a man to go ahead and to be able to handle these shovels.